This introductory video deals with consciousness independent of the physical body, how life continues after physical death, past life memories, near-death experiences, and similar phenomena, reincarnation, and the cosmic evolutionary spiral, with explanations based on the so-called X-structure, the nature of life and reality. Welcome to the Cosmic Worldview and an optimistic view of the future. This is a presentation by New Cosmic Paradigm, Advanced Institute of Ontological Principles and New Science. We, Birgitta Turner and Sten Löth, together with our dear and much missed Arnold Turner, are the founders of NCP X-AIONS. This video is an expanded and developed version of one of our presentations at the annual International Consciousness Conference, the Science of Consciousness, TSC, organized by the Center for Consciousness Studies at the University of Arizona. Today the evidence for reincarnation is overwhelming, and this will lead to an entirely new understanding of life. Many studies and research projects are in progress, with cases from all over the world. For instance, Dr. Jim B. Tucker and his colleagues at the University of Virginia School of Medicine Division of Perceptual Studies are focusing on children's memories of previous lives. Quoting from the Division of Perceptual Studies website, some young children, usually between the ages of 2 and 5, speak about memories of a previous life they claim to have lived. At the same time, they often show behaviors, such as phobias or preferences, that are unusual within the context of their particular family and cannot be explained by any current life events. In many cases, the child's statements correspond accurately to the life and death of a deceased individual. There is also a growing interest in near-death experiences, xenoglossia, which means familiarity with the language that one has not encountered during one's present lifespan, deathbed visions, after-death communication, end-of-life phenomena, out-of-body experiences, etc. This is alongside an increasing number of reported cases and studies with significant data and results, demonstrating that consciousness is independent of the physical brain, presented by medical doctors, researchers and others, not least of whom are our colleagues and friends Peter Fenwick and Pim van Lommel, both well-known researchers in the field of near-death studies and related areas. Dr. Pim van Lommel, cardiologist seen here with his book Consciousness Beyond Life, The Science of the Near-Death Experience, and Dr. Peter Fenwick, neuropsychiatrist and neuropsychologist, focusing on near-death experiences, deathbed visions and end-of-life phenomena. This list shows just a few of the many doctors, therapists and others who work in or research the above-mentioned fields: reincarnation, past life memories, near-death experiences, etc. Before we go any further, we shall very briefly describe 2 illustrative cases of past life memories. The first is that of James Leiniger, a young boy born in 1998 who recalled extremely detailed and comprehensive memories from his previous life as an American fighter pilot, James Houston Jr., who died in World War II. James Leiniger's convincing memories are well documented by professionals and are also the subject of the film Reincarnation of James and the book Soul Survivor by his parents Bruce and Andrea Leiniger. Catholics who understandably found it difficult to accept the idea of memories from previous lives that naturally implied reincarnation. James was about 2 years old when it all began, which is fairly typical. Children often begin to express their past life memories at the age of 2 to 3. James excitedly told his parents about his profession as a pilot and about a terrible plane crash. He also had horrible nightmares about the accident, which he illustrated in many drawings. We can see a couple of them here. The memory process went on for several years, and the little boy displayed incredibly detailed knowledge of aircraft, engines, people, and places. A meeting was also arranged with surviving colleagues of James Houston, and James Leininger recognized them all, but was disappointed that they looked so old and different, although their voices were almost the same and easy for him to recognize. James Leininger's vivid memories of his past life as James Houston faded over time. Another special case is Jenny Cockle, a woman living in Northamptonshire, born in 1953. When Jenny was about 4 years old, she began to remember in small glimpses her previous life as an Irish woman named Mary Sutton, born in 1897. Jenny drew a map of the village where Mary lived. She had a strong sense that it was in Ireland, but had no idea where, although she often looked in her school atlas and felt drawn to a place called Malahide. Later in Jenny's life, after she married and had children, her feelings and memories became stronger. The most intense memory of all was that of Mary's death in 1932. Mary died at the age of 35 in the Rotunda Hospital in Dublin, soon after giving birth to her 8th child. Jenny could see the hospital where it was happening. She understood that she was dying and experienced very strong feelings of guilt and sorrow that she was leaving her children. All this was very clear and strong to Jenny, so she decided to track down Mary's children, and found them. They were still living in Ireland, and most of them were in their 70s. The photo shows Jenny with her 5 surviving children, which was of course a very special reunion. Jenny's powerful and comprehensive story contains many specific details that have been verified. In her book, Yesterday's Children, The Search for My Family from the Past, Jenny describes her memories and the search for her children from her previous life as Mary. People like James and Mary, with clear and tangible memories of experiences from past lives, are usually entirely convinced of reincarnation. It appears as something completely natural, but as Mary has said, I understand skeptics are uncomfortable with the idea of reincarnation, but they haven't experienced what I have. The Danish intuitive philosopher Martinus Thomsen, known as Martinus, emphasizes and explains that death is life's greatest surprise. Because death is not the end of life, to die just means a transition from physical life to a paraphysical continuation of life. In other words, life continues in dimensions and planes of existence beyond the physical world. And Professor Oliver Lazar states that we can say with great certainty and evidence that consciousness survives the physical body. According to the Cosmic Worldview, reincarnation is a natural and fundamental principle that is absolutely necessary for developmental processes and evolution, and the idea of reincarnation has followed man throughout the ages. Various concepts and ideas of reincarnation occur in most cultures and religions, including Christianity, but in fact it was voted out of Christian doctrine at the Second Ecumenical Council of Constantinople in 553 for political and power structural reasons, and biblical texts about reincarnation were edited and deleted. As previously mentioned, extensive research is going on in all the mentioned areas: consciousness beyond life, reincarnation, past life memories, after-death communication, deathbed visions, etc. The evidence is convincing and overwhelming, but explanations are lacking and being sought, and researchers are confused. New Cosmic Paradigm, NCP X-AIONS, introduces a comprehensive explanatory model based on the Cosmic Worldview that explains these often called strange, unnatural and abnormal phenomena, which are in fact completely natural and normal. The Cosmic Worldview is based on the unique and groundbreaking knowledge presented by Danish intuitive philosopher Martinus cosmology, which has been systematized and further developed by his collaborator Per Bruce Jensen, and this work continues through New Cosmic Paradigm, NCP X-AIONS. The Cosmic Worldview is an organic and holistic world picture focusing on the X structure, the basic nature of life and reality. This fundamental X structure demonstrates new and groundbreaking perspectives on life, evolution, and reality. The Cosmic Worldview implies a paradigm shift from the materialistic worldview, where coincidence and chance govern, to a new era characterized by a growing insight into a living, multidimensional cosmos ruled by fundamental laws of nature and eternal principles. This is also an optimistic worldview that provides insights into how we can positively influence our lives and future. A short introduction to the Cosmic Worldview, Martinus cosmology, and New Cosmic Paradigm NCP X-AIONS follows at the end of this video. To really understand life and reality, we must get to know levels and structures beyond the material world and what we refer to as physical. In the ontology of the Cosmic Worldview, these areas and levels are termed paraphysical, parabiological, parachemical, parapsychological, paragenetic, etc. And we emphasize that para in this context means natural and normal, but beyond our current understanding of life and reality, and beyond the realms that traditional science can investigate and verify. Paraphysical structures and dimensions comprise finer, more subtle forms of energy and matter with extremely high frequencies based on and functioning according to different constants and laws of nature compared to the physical world we know. Paraphysical dimensions can simply be described as worlds comprising and characterized by conditions, prerequisites and states beyond our current knowledge of space, time and matter. Simply put, paraphysical reality exists, albeit unobservable to us, side by side with physical reality, although we cannot normally register it with our physical senses and technology adapted to the physical world. According to the Cosmic Worldview, all living beings are immortal life units. Consciousness is independent of the physical body, and life continues on paraphysical planes of existence after physical death. This is made possible by the fact that we and all living beings also have an immortal paraphysical structure or body, which the temporary physical body is connected to and completely dependent on. The Cosmic Worldview explains the process of reincarnation, how life continues after physical death, and the course of events that leads to a further physical life, a new incarnation. The Cosmic Worldview focuses on the X structure, the basic nature of life and reality. As this primordial form of existence reality is unknown to man, Martinus has chosen to express it with the letter X, hence the name X structure. The X structure is in principle the same for all forms of life. It builds up and is present in all life. This symbol illustrates the X structure, and is a simplified image of the total organism complex, including physical, semi-physical, and paraphysical structures. In this short introduction, we shall look at these briefly. To the right, we have a part of the symbol where we see the three main levels of the total organism complex. A represents the temporary physical body. Traditional science stops here. B represents the temporary semi-physical body, the so-called switching body or transformation body. Expressed in simple terms, it links physical levels, the zero-point field and paraphysical levels, and might partly be observed and registered by natural science developed in the future. C represents the paraphysical eternal body, which exists and operates independently of the semi-physical body and the physical body. This level cannot be reached by traditional science, as it's made up of energies and structures that cannot be registered with our physical senses and technical measuring instruments. In summary, the paraphysical eternal body is completely superior to the temporary physical body and the semi-physical switching body, and as you can see, the physical and semi-physical structures represent just minor parts of the total organism complex. Before we go further, let's look at the semi-physical switching body, which is primarily paraphysical. This structure operates and functions as a transition and transformation zone, an organic link between the temporary physical body and the paraphysical eternal body. This means that the switching body is connected to the paraphysical eternal body as well as to the brain structure, and functions as a paraphysical extension of the brain. The brain is primarily connected to the switching body when we are awake. Martinus calls this state day consciousness, and our awareness is on the physical plane. During sleep, so-called night consciousness, the contact between the brain and the switching body is, temporarily, almost disconnected. Therefore, consciousness is more or less disconnected from the physical plane. Thus, night consciousness is tied to the semi-physical and paraphysical structures and levels. The main functions of sleep are to relieve the physical organism and give it the opportunity to rest and regenerate, as well as to strengthen and maintain the semi-physical switching body at such a level that it should be able to take over in a maximal capacity if the individual were to suffer sudden death. It can be added that after death, when contact with the physical body is lost, the semi-physical switching body still has an important function for a period of time before it dissolves and life continues at higher paraphysical planes of existence through the eternal body. The central part of the extensive paraphysical eternal body, termed the fate element, comprises a complex organ system that includes unique accumulation and storage units, which have specific processing and management functions, termed talent cores or ability nucks. The talent cores accumulate and store all our individual experiences, acquired knowledge, abilities, skills, qualities, etc., in order to make it possible for us to reuse and develop them and to carry them with us from life to life. The talent cores are crucial prerequisites for the development of all forms of life and evolutionary processes. Very briefly and generally speaking, talent cores could be described as paraphysical organic centers of power, containing experiences, abilities and qualities, etc., that the individual has developed and acquired in certain areas during different parts of its eternal existence. These experiences, abilities, qualities, etc., are transformed into codified patterns of vibrations, containing the data and program which the current talent core operates and administers. The fate element in the eternal body with all the talent cores can be likened to an organic hard drive with a holographic structure and infinite capacity, where processing, accumulation and storage take place in three main groups of talent cores: memory talent cores, manual activity organ talent cores, autonomous organ talent cores. The memory talent cores store experiences, memories from the individual's ongoing life experience, and are of great importance to the perception process, the creation of qualia and life experience, which we shall briefly mention. Together, the memory talent cores constitute a unique individual archive that could be described as an immense information bank, termed the perception archive, where our previous experiences are stored. Consequently, the perception archive contains an enormous amount of reference material. The information stored in these memory talent cores gives resonance to new incoming objective impulses via our physical senses, sight, hearing, etc., and influences how we transform, interpret and act on stimuli, namely how we transform objective reality into subjective reality, which is a central part of the so-called reality consciousness transformation process, the XRCT process. Past experiences of, for example, dangerous snakes, which are stored in the memory talent cores in the perception archive, normally result in automatic reactions like the one we see in the picture here. As the experience material regarding a certain situation or event increases in our memory talent cores, our reactions to the current situation become increasingly rapid, and when the experience material becomes sufficiently extensive, we react directly and completely automatically without consciously first assessing the situation that has arisen, so-called automatic reactions. We will now briefly return to the aforementioned bidirectional reality consciousness transformation process, XRCT, which is a fundamental manifestation perception process of unmanifested initial reality into manifested objective reality. That is manifestation and the experience of it as qualia, subjective reality. That is perception. And the XRCT process provides a profound solution to what in philosophy and consciousness research are called the hard problem of consciousness and the explanatory gap. The nature of consciousness, the perception process and the creation of qualia, which is the transformation of objective reality into subjective reality and cannot be explained based on physicalism or materialism. The XRCT process also provides an explanation of the so-called hard problem of reality. Traditional sciences hitherto lack of a deeper understanding of the nature of objective reality. We will now return to the second main group of talent cores. Manual activity organ talent cores store learned and practiced activity programs. These are abilities that the individual has built up and developed through training and application, such as cycling, reading, playing instruments, certain body functions, etc. The construction and development of a manual activity organ talent core includes three main stages. The first is the interest stage. The individual has an interest, a day-conscious will and desire to attain a certain function or skill. The second is the training and exercise stage. The individual engages and trains, day-conscious active training, striving and practice, which stimulates the building of talent cores. And finally, the third stage which is often called the automatic function stage. The individual has acquired a skill. The function or skill has become automatic and does not require day-conscious concentration for its implementation. For instance, walking, cycling, reading, etc., and has thus become an automatic function. The optimal level at this third stage can be described as the genius stage. The third main group of talent cores is called the autonomous organ talent cores. These store information for the creation and development of paraphysical and physical organisms, and are crucial to how all life takes form, grows, and evolves in a particular way. The knowledge and understanding of autonomous organ talent cores overturns the traditional theory that all this incredibly complex form shaping and multifaceted development is merely genetically programmed, solely controlled and dependent on genetic conditions. The primary form shaping and evolving processes, with all the underlying information accumulated and stored in the autonomous organ talent cores, are activated at the paraphysical level when the reincarnation process begins. Furthermore, all our automatic functions and automatic behaviors are governed by the information stored in our talent cores. For instance, only a small portion, 2 to 4% of our bodily functions are volitional. Almost all of them are automatic functions. The talent cores form and continuously develop a unique individual paragenetic force field, which is of great importance for each reincarnation process that each individual undergoes. This force field determines to which DNA complex on the physical plane the disincarnated individual can connect his or her paraphysical eternal body via their new semi-physical transforming switching body. This means that the paragenetic force field, in principle, decides which physical individuals are possible for the disincarnated individual to incarnate through. In other words, the paragenetic force field controls and limits the selection of which physical individuals can become the disincarnated individual's parents. We should also add that the talent cores are highly relevant within the field of epigenetics, as they directly exert an influence on the genes of the DNA spiral. The paragenetic force field is one of the 6 primary and governing evolutionary factors, the so-called cosmic teleostats. According to the Cosmic Worldview, there are 6 interacting primary evolutionary factors, the cosmic teleostats, of which 3 are internal and 3 external. We will mention them briefly here. We begin with the 3 internal teleostats. The first is the so-called primordial urge, with its inherent self-preservation drive. The primordial urge constitutes the initial and eternal driving force in all forms of life. And the second is the paragenetic force field, as just mentioned. And this force field thus determines which DNA complex on the physical plane the disincarnated individual can connect to their paraphysical eternal body via their new semi-physical switching body. Finally, the third internal teleostat is the talent cores, and the fundamental and governing talent core principle, which is one of the so-called cosmic creative principles. And now we have the 3 external teleostats. The first is the environmental factors governed by the laws of nature via the cosmic creative principles. And the second is the adaptation, selection, and mutation principle in interaction with several cosmic creative principles. And finally, the third external teleostat, the theocratic principle, the primary and supreme teleostat, governed via the so-called development, protection, and parent principle, influenced and controlled by beings on higher paraphysical planes of existence. These 6 teleostats govern all forms of development and evolutionary processes, and provide a new understanding of the phenomenon of life, leading to a paradigm shift within biology. We shall now take a very brief look at some parts of the incarnation process from a human perspective. The beginning of a new incarnation entails activation of the disincarnated individual's autonomous organ talent cores at the paraphysical level. These talent cores initiate and govern complex processes at the physical level via the transforming semi-physical switching body. We can follow these intensive activities and processes at the physical level from conception, zygote stage and onward. These autonomous processes and developments comprise what Martinus terms the repetition, and this means that we repeat earlier stages of our development. The stages that are furthest from our current level are repeated first and fastest. The repetition processes can be observed during the embryonic and fetal periods throughout the different stages, where the pre-programmed autonomous organ talent cores automatically govern and control the creating and shaping of a new, unique physical organism. The very early and fast development and repetition includes, for instance, gill slits and tail, which are examples of organs and structures that are much less important or no longer needed in further incarnations. The autonomous organ talent cores that hold older programs and underlie these structures are in various stages of degeneration, but some of them still operate and result in vestigial or rudimentary organs such as the outer ear muscles, appendix, wisdom teeth, and coccyx. Human embryos are very similar to the embryos of several other species at their early repetition and developmental stages, but they have clear human features as early as week 8. After birth, the repetition continues with various sequences repeated from previous lives that primarily influence mental and psychological development. The repetition is noticeable during childhood and adolescence and lasts until the individual is about 28 to 30 years old, applying to humans at the current level of development. Many parents, for example, notice that their children repeat earlier stages of development. During these repetition phases, the children experience that the whole of nature is alive and accessible to them. They talk to stones, trees, and stars. Let us now move on to the subject of past life memories. Children often begin to express their memories from previous lives when they are 2 to 3 years old, and these memories are usually interpreted as fantasies or dreams by their parents. The memories normally seem to fade and end at the age of 6 to 8, which is due to the fact that the brain's communication via the switching body with the memory talent cores in the eternal body decreases as the brain develops and becomes able to support and administrate more and more of the individual's day consciousness. This can be likened to a more or less open door that slowly closes. During the child's development, day consciousness gradually becomes more and more connected to the physical brain, and it appears to be a closed door between day consciousness and night consciousness. This means that most adults cannot normally access the information from their previous lives that is stored in their memory talent cores in the eternal body, like the little boy says to the older man here. However, some people can access memories and pictures from past lives during meditation, regression, or hypnosis, and others get it spontaneously, often triggered by a particular situation or occasion. In summary, regarding children's memories of past lives, many studies demonstrate that children usually begin to express their past life memories between the ages of 2 and 4, and this typically fades by the age of 6 to 8. According to the Cosmic Worldview, this fading is due to the child's brain developing the ability to carry more and more of the child's day consciousness, which causes day conscious access to the memory talent cores in the eternal body to steadily diminish. Finally, some common characteristics regarding children and past life memories. The children often claim that their new body feels strange and that their name is incorrect. Talk about the parents and family they had in a past life. Show fear of objects and situations connected with dramatic events in a past life. Remember their death and events and circumstances surrounding it. Remember special events vividly. Behave like an adult in several situations. Have skills and knowledge not taught or learned in their current life. In cases where children visit their previous home or a place they had connections to in a previous life, they can point out changes. Many psychiatrists, therapists, and psychologists have studied adults' memories and experiences of previous lives. One of them is Professor Brian Weiss, psychiatrist, who uses various methods of hypnosis, meditation, and regression therapies, through which people try to go back to previous lives in order to understand their current-day phobias, inexplicable behaviors, and reactions for which there are no explanations based on their current life. Research demonstrates that inexplicable behaviors, phobias, overreactions, fear, etc., often turn out to have causes in experiences that the individual has had in previous lives. This applies not least to difficult, dramatic, and traumatic events and situations. A related phenomenon is xenoglossia, the ability to more or less understand a language not encountered during your current life, or familiarity with a place not visited or even heard of, and different forms of déjà vu. Briefly, the overall explanation for these and similar phenomena is that some individuals can access certain information stored in their memory talent cores that they do not normally have access to during their day-conscious state in physical life. A related phenomenon is children who, at an early age, are masters of, for instance, an instrument or have other remarkable, well-developed abilities within a specific area. This is explained by the fact that, via their manual activity organ talent cores, they have exceptional access to learned abilities from past lives, during which they attained extraordinarily high levels of skill. The wonder child and composer Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart is a brilliant example of this. The 3 children in this image are also exceptionally gifted. Iman Besha, 10-year-old opera singer. Dinesh Dwivedi, 11-year-old and never went to school, but has an incredible knowledge of physics, chemistry, and mathematics. And Akim Kamara, 5-year-old master violinist. After-death communication indicates that a medium, through his or her semi-physical switching body, has the ability to temporarily open the door to the paraphysical level, and thereby make contact with disincarnated individuals at the paraphysical plane. The Windbridge Research Center in Tucson, Arizona, founded by Yuli Baichel and Mark Bukuchi, focuses primarily on empirical studies of afterlife topics, including after-death communication, along with the investigation of mediums and mediumship. Near-death experiences, NDE, imply that the connection between the physical body and the semi-physical switching body is temporarily almost broken or completely broken, and the individual uses his or her paraphysical sensory organs to experience. These persons also describe different kinds of experiences with out-of-body perspectives. Brian Weiss has documented the touching case of a woman who was blind for many years. The woman told her doctor about everything she experienced and actually saw during her NDE, including a detailed description of the situation, the room and the staff at the hospital where she was treated, and many other specific details. Her story is well verified. This demonstrates that we, our consciousness and life experience, are independent of the physical body and its sensory organs, which explains why accounts of near-death experiences and similar states often include descriptions of events, environments, people, etc. that occur at long distances from the experiencer's physical body, and therefore cannot possibly be registered with the physical senses. The predominant features of the account of NDE and its effects on people seem to be universal across all cultures, independent of age, gender, religion and beliefs, education, work, status, health, etc. The overwhelming majority of people feel deeply transformed in a very positive way, which completely changes their outlook on life and death, the meaning of life. Their values change and they become more sensitive, calmer, happier, more emphatic, understanding, humble, etc. Unfortunately, these people can also become depressed in cases where they cannot tell others about their incredibly significant experience, when they feel ignored and misunderstood and even mistrusted due to negative responses and prejudices received from families, friends, colleagues, and others. To summarize, in order to understand what the concept of life means and the phenomena we have highlighted in this short introduction, it is absolutely fundamental to understand the entire organism complex with its three different body structures or organism structures. The temporary physical body and the temporary semi-physical switching body, which operates and functions as a transition and transformation zone and organic link between the temporary physical body and the autonomous paraphysical body, the so-called eternal body. These three organic organism structures indicate and explain how consciousness is independent of the physical body, how life continues after the death of the physical body, how the reincarnation and disincarnation processes occur, and many other phenomena such as near-death experiences, after-death communication, out-of-body experiences, deathbed visions, etc. In the paraphysical eternal body, we have highlighted the talent cores, which function as storage units and are unique to each individual. The talent cores constitute a fundamental prerequisite for all life, all development and all evolutionary processes. For example, talent cores build up and develop an individual paragenetic force field, which is crucial for every reincarnation process an individual undergoes. We will summarize some examples of the crucial importance of the three different talent core groups for some of the phenomena we touched on in this video. Memory talent cores, activity organ talent cores, autonomous organ talent cores. The memory talent cores store experiences as memories and constitute a unique individual information bank, the so-called perception archive, which contains an enormous amount of reference material. This perception archive constitutes a fundamental prerequisite for perception and life experience, all forms of recognition, memories of past lives, xenoglossia, déjà vu experiences, and automatic reactions. Manual activity organ talent cores are fundamental to learned skills, learning through training and practice, which leads to the development of automatic functions, so-called manual automatic functions. This group of talent cores also provides an explanation for so-called wonder children with their amazing abilities and skills. Autonomous organ talent cores store information for the creation of organisms and initiate, govern, and regulate all forms of organism development. These talent cores are pre-programmed and lead to the development of automatic functions, so-called autonomous automatic functions, which are crucial to how all life takes form, evolves, and functions in a particular way. Finally, we shall take a brief look at one of Martinez's symbols that illustrates how all life evolves in a law-governed evolutionary process in the form of spiral cycles that gradually lead to new and ever higher forms of life, the cosmic evolutionary spiral. Every spiral cycle includes 6 fundamentally different planes of existence. These are illustrated by different colors and include both physical and paraphysical worlds and dimensions. On Earth, we know 3 of these planes of existence as the mineral kingdom, indigo color, plant kingdom, red, and animal kingdom, orange. These realms mainly represent physical worlds and involve different forms of reincarnation and disincarnation processes. According to the Cosmic Worldview, humans at the current level of development still belong to the animal kingdom, at the symbol marked with a split white field in the orange area. The next plane of existence in our development is what Martinez calls the human kingdom, or real human kingdom, which is marked in yellow. The evolutionary phase from animal to real human entails the development from egoism, lust for power, war and oppression, to empathy, altruism, and unconditional love for all life. Mankind can be illustrated by the Sphinx, with its animal body and human head, a mixture of animal and human, embodying the mentality and behavior of both, a being between 2 realms. The other 3 planes of existence, yellow, green and blue, are mainly paraphysical, and we live on these temporarily after death, during the periods between our physical lives. Further ahead in the cosmic evolutionary spiral, we live and develop in the paraphysical dimensions for very long periods of time, after which life continues again in physical dimensions, but then of an entirely new character, in entirely new physical organisms, in entirely new physical worlds. The ongoing result of the cosmic evolutionary spiral is the constant renewal and development of all forms of life, an eternal and ongoing evolution of life and consciousness for all living beings. Life is an eternal journey. Bon voyage. Thank you for your interest. This presentation continues with a brief background and introduction to the Cosmic Worldview, Martinez cosmology, and New Cosmic Paradigm, NCP X-AIONS. Martinus' cosmology comprises two branches or directions that complement each other. The first, represented by Martinus's original texts and symbols, including what he termed spiritual science, explains and describes life and reality beyond physical energy and matter, as well as the meaning of life. It also includes an intellectualizing of the content of religions, focusing primarily on Christianity, hence the collective name, the Third Testament. This branch is represented by the Martinus Institute in Copenhagen. The other branch has an ontological and scientific character, denoted by its profound analysis and definitions of the fundamental principles and structures in the Cosmic Worldview. Martinus laid the foundation for it in his own work, and further by teaching his student Per Bruce Jensen and assigning to him the specific mission to systematize, specify, and thereby further develop the intuitive knowledge that Martinus himself conveyed. New Cosmic Paradigm NCP X-AIONS continues Per Bruce Jensen's work and represents this branch. Martinus was born in 1890 in Sindal, a small Danish village in northern Jutland, and grew up in modest circumstances, and his education at the regular elementary school only consisted of a few lessons per week. Even at an early age, Martinus thought deeply about religious and existential issues. This continued with increasing intensity throughout his youth and contributed to his later borrowing a book on meditation, which came to have a very special meaning. In spring 1921, at the age of 30, Martinus had several completely unexpected intuitive experiences related to meditation that opened up a new area of perception to him and changed his life completely. He reached an expanded state of consciousness, which he termed cosmic consciousness. From this new state of awareness, he could see through the physical world to an underlying paraphysical level, and by intuition explore the nature and structure of life and reality, gaining profound insight into the fundamental principles and laws of existence. Martinus's optimistic and comprehensive world picture entails a new and deeper understanding of life and reality, and provides us with new perspectives and a logical framework for understanding our own lives and how we can positively influence the future. During his lifetime, Martinus presented a new world picture with comprehensive and coherent analysis and explanations of the nature of life and reality, and the principles that govern the infinite cosmos. His main work is represented in the Book of Life in 7 volumes and the Eternal World Picture in 6 volumes, and his approximately 100 symbols form an ingenious complement to his texts. It should be mentioned that Martinus's teaching and his profound discussions with Per Bruce Jensen also dealt with topics and areas that Martinus had not put forward in his own literature, but which, for the major part, are to be found in Per Bruce Jensen's output. In this video, for instance, there are several terms and special expressions created by Per Bruce Jensen that do not appear in Martinus's original text, but which are mainly created in dialogue with Martinus. New Cosmic Paradigm, Advanced Institute of Ontological Principles and New Science, NCP X-AIONS, is a non-profit organization with no religious or political ties and is completely autonomous and independent. As previously mentioned, NCP X-AIONS represents the ontological and scientific branch of Martinus cosmology, the Cosmic Worldview, and conducts research within its ontology and thereby continuing Per Bruce Jensen's work with a focus on the great issues of life, consciousness, and reality. The overall aim of NCP X-AIONS is to convey knowledge that contributes to the emergence of the new cosmic paradigm, instilling hope and faith in the future, with respect for all life and care for the planet Earth. NCP X-AIONS was founded in Sweden in 2010 by Arnold Turner, Birgitta Turner and Sten Löth, and has been made possible through Per Bruce Jensen's long-term support and teaching of the founders of NCP X-AIONS. It has become my task to show the world that life is not a mystery. The abilities that I have are merely what human beings before me have had, and all others after me will have, absolutely all without exception. There is therefore in the literature and symbols nothing to either admire or thank me for. It has been a wonderful divine experience to bring the eternal light into a world in which human beings are still, to a large extent, suffering in the dark. Thank you for your interest. We would be delighted to welcome you to our website. Text read by Lucie Minne.